Welcome to Beyond the Brink, a podcast where we share inspiring stories of how to go beyond with your host, Marianne Brink. Yolandé Booyse has lived a colourful life challenging social norms in terms of many careers and passions. But in this interview, we focus on the amazing journey of going beyond the brink of social norms in relationships, marriage, and love specifically. She finally found her passion and career along with the love of her life. But join me as we listen to her incredible journey. Hi, Yolandé, or is it Yolanda?
It is technically Yolanda, but I think for all my South African friends, I will forever be a Yolandé.
Yes. But to give a bit of background, obviously, we've known you for a very long time. I actually know you through my husband, Duan. You his best friend. So I knew I had to share you from the day I fell in love with him. There was no option. So, so we've known each other long. And you live in the UK, right? And it's been quite a long time now already.
Yeah, been here 20 years now.
Oh, wow. 2 decades.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as
Wow.
long as I'm kind of at that cusp now of I've been in England as long as I've been in South Africa.
Wow.
And, yeah, that felt really weird. And what felt also really weird is when I found out that I'm no longer entitled to a South African passport.
Oh,
I was just
wow.
like, I feel really lost right now. I don't quite
We
who I
told
am.
you where you belong now.
Where do I belong? Yeah, it was a weird moment. Yeah.
But you're still loving it. You're not planning on moving back here.
My home.
Ah,
It's my home, you know,
yes. And I'm
from an
sure,
early
as we
age.
will find out later, your love is also there. So obviously, we would not be
Yes,
able
my
to lure
love.
him back here.
Very committed, a wonderful man. I got to pick from the top shelf, which
Oh,
I'm very
look at you now
grateful
showing
for.
off. And when I cornered you to take an interview with me, because I thought you have such an interesting life, I was like, I have to interview Yolanda. I have to do that. There's enough there. I know you got a bit nervous and you were like, okay, what shall we talk about? And we discussed it a little bit before. So I think we're both confident in what it is that we want to talk about, or you want to talk
Yeah.
about. And I'm going to ask you many questions, as I get curious. But when I asked you what you went beyond the brink of, what is that?
I would say my big beyond the brink was going beyond social norms.
Ah, hallelujah. Amen. So, in your mind, what does that mean to say you went beyond the brink of social norm?
Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right. You know, in different cultures, there are different sets of rules, of codes of conduct to be socially acceptable in your, community. And,
Yes.
it doesn't matter what those are, but there is an immense pressure that we all feel to kind of fit in and belong to our community. So we have to kind of toe the line and tick all the boxes. But more broadly, I would also say that there's kind of like an unwritten law of how things go in life. You know, you turn up here as a human baby, and from a very young age, you kind of go subliminally like programmed to go, well, this is how it's going to go. This is how your life needs to go.
Yeah.
And if you want to be happy at the end of it, follow this little recipe of success, and broadly looks like, get a good education, have, respectable friends, and get married, have kids,
Yes.
make enough money, work hard, make enough money so that you can retire at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And we've all experienced that. And I think for me, one of the blessings that I had, which I thought was a curse for a long time, but one of the blessings that I had is I had a very hands-off mother. And my dad was kind of absent anyway. He was the kind of wild child of our family structure, but my mom was very hands-off. And I remember having to go to her once going, why were you such a hands-off mum? You were absent and I feel like a neglected child. And she went like, I didn't want to stifle your spirit. You had this carefree spirit from a very young age, and I didn't want to tell you what to do with it, how to do it, because I had experienced that. And I think the destructive nature of my dad was because he had a very wild nature, and he was also very much pushed into a box of what's acceptable. And
Yes.
well, it didn't work out well for him.
Yeah.
But my mom took a different approach, and I'm very grateful for that. So, but it also meant that I entered the adult world like that weird kid at school who has disheveled hair and a broken
But it
suitcase.
looks proper today. All straight and social normie.
I wasn't that at all. I had to kind of wing it in life and kind of figure it out as I went along, because there was no kind of rigid structure of going, okay, well, when in doubt, just do this, right? So, but that was I think that's what kind of brought about the richness of my life, and the many stories that are within it. But it also built up resilience in me as well. And when we were talking about, well, today in terms of how we're going to tell the story about breaking the boundaries of social norms, is my first memory that I have of me being challenged in that way was, you'll know, Dawn and I used to work at a place called Radizio, right? The dine and dance restaurant, where you go there for an event and you're looking to be entertained and spend lots of money because you have a special event. And I was a very, believe it or not, a very introverted, shy person up until then. I was very kind of reserved. I was a strong character, but I was very reserved. I wasn't outspoken or gregarious or anything like that. But I loved that kind of work, and that job in itself, you had to kind of, it was a commission-based role, and then you got your tip, right? Yes. And I wanted to make money. My goal was, I want to do well here. I want to be the best, which has always kind of been a thing for me. Yes. And the guys that are the best at this, they're the loud characters. They carry their table and they've got shots down their throats and all sorts. And I went, well, if I want to earn the big bucks and succeed here, I have to become that person. Now, social norms will teach you that you are who you are, and you've just got to accept that, right? You can't change who you are. Your personality is who it is. And I just thought, well, is it really? I don't know. Like, I can put on a character, and I forced myself to kind of, although I wasn't a loud person, I wore a character. I put a character on, because I thought, well, those people don't know that I'm not loud and gregarious. They're coming to the table. So
it's a game you play.
It's a game. That was a big lesson for me, to kind of, having a goal that you're excited about. I wanted to do well there. I wanted to kind of succeed. This was
that always important to you? So instead of looking at social norm of you have to get married at that age, or you have to go to varsity, you have to have kids, or you have to buy a house, would you say something important to you was that success or making money or being the best at something? Was that more something that drove you?
Definitely. I mean, I don't think I was conscious of it at the time. It was only something that kind of, came to my consciousness at a later stage in life, but it was definitely a driver.
Yeah, because when I met you, you came across more as a rebel for me, like someone who just wants to ruffle feathers and, shake things up a bit. So I didn't see that. But yeah, it's definitely showing later in your life. That's why I was wondering if it was a goal early on, but you just didn't realize it maybe. Yeah.
No, I didn't. And, and I understand it now, because I think what's important in life is to kind of reflect on who you are and what decisions you're making and how that's working out for you. So in that, as part of that, you can go, okay, well, why am I being driven by success? What am I trying to prove? That type of thing. And then the next kind of event, I would say, that really kind of pushed my boundaries was leaving the country. I remember when I was 17, my best friend and I smoked way too much weed, and we were convinced we were reincarnated, like diehard fans of the Beatles. I mean, I remember looking at an album one day, one of those pull-out albums, and this woman in this picture looked like me. And I went, you see, I belong in London. I'm going.
Well, you're still there, so it was some sort of prophecy, the weed spoke the truth.
Yeah, and then it was that day that I decided I'm going to London. I'm making
And was
a
there
life
any
there.
plans there? Was there any, or did you just go? Was there any like work waiting for you? Was there any plan as such, or did you just go fearlessly, having faith and trust that it'll just work out? I'll wing it as I've done before.
I think I set the intention at 17 where I went, this is what I want to do. The opportunity came along when I was around 20. I had met a guy who was literally, we met 6 weeks before he was immigrating. So we decided, okay, well, let's have a great time. We're not going to see one another.
Yes.
But we really got close. I mean, I landed up marrying him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a very intense relationship and got very intense very quickly. And we decided that I would then go join him in London. And then I left and I literally sold. I mean, I hadn't ever been to London. I hadn't even gone to visit him. Knew nothing of what I was getting myself into, but I knew that I wanted to go. So I sold everything. I sold my car, gave my cat away, gave teary goodbyes to my hairdresser. And then you have to kind of pack your life into a 25 kg confinement, which is crazy and gut-wrenching. But what I did pack was my suits, packing my suits and my CV. So as soon as I get there, I'm looking for work, right? Yes. I'm making this happen, making this dream happen, making it sustainable. Yes. And as soon as I landed, within that week, I think I took the weekend off, but on that Monday, I was trailing the streets of London in my suit with my CV in my hand, off to, what do you call them, recruitment agents.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Wow. So you had a plan.
Yeah, and I think
other than love. Love was the first kind of thing. But then, okay, I probably have to work while loving someone.
I think the reason why the relationship was also feasible and appealing was because it fitted together. There was a shared goal. You're going, I want to go. Let's have a go. I mean, we didn't know we were going to get married then, but we decided, okay, well, let's do this together. Let's journey together and see what it's like. Yeah. But I thought in terms of how did I kind of just make that jump? And it was really just about being super excited about a goal. I think I'm an adrenaline junkie, definitely. And I accept that about myself. It's very true. So, I know that I need that kind of higher pace in life for me to feel alive.
Would you say that when a challenge like that comes, or a new opportunity, you don't look at the fear factor of it, or what could go wrong, or, what might, happen negatively? You look at it and get excited about it, like it's an adventure. It's exciting. Let's see what this brings. Do you think that is what happens to you when something comes up?
100%. I was talking to my mum about this as well. And I think what stops other people is that they will deliberate too long about what can go wrong.
Yes.
Definitely. And that'll put anybody off.
Yes, it will, because there's so many risks in anything, really. In anything, you'll never live. Never. Yes. So sometimes I think it's just when you're on that brink to take that jump, and just go for it and hope that you land.
What's the worst that can happen?
Yes.
What's the worst that can happen?
You can die, but
right? Well, you're going to die anyway, right?
Exactly,
so you might as well. You get one life, right? I suppose it's my philosophy on life as well that, I'm a consciousness. I'm on this planet that's incredible, right? Yes. And it has so much fascinating things go on. And even if I had a million lives, I wouldn't be able to experience it all. So let me experience what I can, because I'm dying anyway. I don't know what happens afterwards. Maybe I don't remember anything, right? Yes. So what matters now is this nanosecond by nanosecond by nanosecond that I live in. I remember, I'm jumping stories here, but I remember going on the seminar and really kind of grasping the reality of life is that, we spend, there's past, present, future, right? In terms of states of being, past,
Yes.
present, future. And two of those don't exist. There's only one that exists that's real.
Present.
But we
Yeah.
spend all of our time in the other two.
Yes.
I mean, how crazy is that?
Yes.
It's crazy, right? It's not where life is. So
Yes.
if we've got one job and that's to live, right? At least you want to be in the lane, right?
Yes.
Where life is happening.
Exactly. Exactly. In on the action.
Yeah. If there's ever any purpose to life,
Yes.
I think it's that, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
To kind of live in the lane where life is actually happening.
Yeah.
You know,
So would you
and
say
that-
going to London and, running off with a love that you just met, would that be one of the breaking society's norms? You know what I'm saying? Is that just not something a girl that age kind of
I
does?
imagine so. I mean, for me, I'm just like, yeah, of course I'm going to do that, right? I mean, I'm just even crazier stuff that I won't even mention. That totally.
No, I can imagine. I can imagine. And then what age were you when you got married again to him? What age were you?
I don't know. I think we were together in total 5 years. We were engaged for 3 and
Wow, that's
married
long.
for 2. I was really getting to a brink of, I was so unhappy and I felt so stuck in that relationship, and I'll be honest here that, we got, coming to the UK is very difficult for a South African. We all know that. And I'd come over my 2-year visa and it got to that point of, well, what do I do now? Do I go back? And we were very happy together. I mean, I still love Brendan with all my heart. We can't be together, but it was a part of my life. So
Yes.
So I got to that point of, well, what do I do here? Do I go back to South Africa where I don't want to be? This is where I want to be. This is where my soul feels that I am. This is what I want. But in order to do that, I need to get married. And we were already engaged at that stage. And it was a very difficult decision to make. I deliberated so much about that. But in the end, I decided to get married.
Okay.
But long term, that obviously didn't work out. And we had kind of a lot of financial strain at that point. And it really kind of messed with us. And credit to Brendan, he really kind of tried to help me get out, which kind of took me to my next crazy. Oh, by the way, I'm taking out a £12,000 loan and I'm going to Monte Carlo on a seminar. How to be happy.
Because life is for the living. I'm in the lane, in the present. I am doing this.
And he was just like, are you crazy? Are you mad? And he just said, it's a cult, blah, blah, blah. What are you doing? And I went, I don't care. I'm going. I don't care. Right? I don't care. So I went to the seminar. The seminar was life-changing. And that's why I said to you, bringing it back to that moment of, it was within that seminar that the reality dawned on me about the past, present, future. And that the only lane to be in is the present. Now, and this is not to discard the power of having the ability to plan a future and reflect on a past. Those things are very important, but they're not places to live in.
Yeah.
I mean, depression is a really good example of living in that space. Worry is a very good example of living in that future space. So it's not a place to live in, it's a place to visit.
Yes.
Like the
Stay
in-laws.
present. Yeah. Briefly.
Yeah, just briefly catch up. Off
Yes,
you go.
do not move in.
Exactly.
Wow. So that's where you learned about the present. And then how did that change your decision about your marriage then? Obviously it changes a lot of things in your life. I mean, if that kind of seminar happens, that usually does. Yeah. That's the case. Everything changes almost. But what was the penny that dropped for you almost with your marriage of going, okay, it was a great thing bringing me to UK. It was a great ride, but done. This ain't working.
Well, what happened is, I think when I said I'm going on the seminar, obviously Brendan at the time was deathly worried about me, but he went on one of their introduction evenings. And by the time, I don't know whether it was before I went, I think when he came back from that introduction, he went, I'm going to.
Oh, okay. So he went with you?
He didn't go with me. He went straight after me.
Okay, all right.
So he decided, this is good, I'm going, right?
Okay,
so good. When I got back, he then went straight away. And then when he came back, both of us just naturally said, our time together is done.
Oh, I love you. So it was nice. It's then a peaceful, that's a nice thing at least. Yeah.
I mean, we were great friends for a long time. We ran a business together for a while. After, I would say a good 2 years after that, we ran a business together. Wow. We had houses we were renting out, and it worked well. You know, we were good friends. We were good friends, and that's where we needed to be.
And would you say that is a brink you went beyond, or was that just kind of like a warm up for brinks to come? Is that like, you know, or would you say that you would also see as going beyond the brink of something, and you know, learning some lessons from that and saying, okay, this is kind of how you do it. This is the recipe or the formula of going beyond the brink. Or do you think that was just a warm up of, you know, right, let's go for real rides?
For me, it was definitely a warm up. I think my life has been a culmination of going beyond the brink, and I think that's, you know, that's where the magic and the color of life lies, is beyond the brink. That's where the color is. Before that is, you know, very grayscale.
I like that. I think I'll use it on some of my posts. Beyond the brink is where the color lies. I like it. Yes.
But it's true, though.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. So, you know, for me at that stage, that was the pinnacle of my life. But, you know, I was only 26 at the time, ish, I think, around that age. Yeah. So the universe was nowhere near done with me, right? Yes, it was just warming me up and preparing me for other stuff, right? So coming back from Monte Carlo, having gone my separate ways with Brendan, I was then ready for my living my dream.
Yes,
living my best life.
Which was on a vision board. Well, what did it look like?
Yeah. And it was, I want to be a teacher. I'm destined to be a teacher.
I remember that. Wow. Yes. Okay. So yes, you wanted to be a teacher. On we go.
Yeah. It was terrible. I went to a preschool. I became a preschool teacher. I loved the kids. Oh my God, I loved the kids, right? Yeah. It was just the funnest thing in the entire world to kind of play with 4-year-olds. Best thing ever. But what I couldn't deal with was kind of like, and you'll probably appreciate this, was the rigid structure of education. You know, I literally could see the life being forced out of 4-year-olds just because we were so fixated on teaching them how to bloody write their name or, you know, draw a circle or it was terrible. It was like, it was literally
kills the creativity, hey, and the imagination, because you have to fit in again. You have to become something. 100%. Yeah. So social norm, wasn't that a nice test that the universe like threw there for you, isn't it? So you went beyond the brink of social norm, and that is coming face to face with typical social norm, isn't it? So that's when you already knew, you know, once again, this is not for me. Yeah. Social norm.
Yeah.
Wow. So that didn't last long.
No, but it was heartbreaking to me. It was literally, you know, I mean, that was probably my darkest moment in my entire life, because here I just come back from this amazing seminar. I'm ready to live my best life, put my dream into place, and it's not what I thought at all.
Yes. And that's where it probably comes in, as I was explaining to you earlier with that video that I posted earlier this week, of where I kind of worked out that little formula of you having to accept a situation. So you had to now accept, okay, well, this is not my dream. And you had to now make changes because it doesn't help you staying in it and being in denial. And then you had to get a different experience now from it, you know. So it's like having to deal with disappointment or things not going your way, right? Because you're not really in control of anything. It's just acceptance all the way. Yeah.
And I think what was really interesting about that experience of, you know, I mean, I was at the point of suicide.
Wow.
100%.
That I didn't know.
Multiple times. Yeah, multiple times. And it was almost that I used to push, like, I would say it's like a scale, right? You're going down a lift, right? At the top, if you're on the top level, this is where life is a complete and utter joy, right? Carefree, joy, happy. And then as life, kind of the pressure, you just feel like the pressure of that building, as you go deeper and deeper and deeper. And, obviously there is the end. But so I would go down the lift, right, deeper and deeper, but I would realize that there was a limit, there was an end. You couldn't go any further than that, other than bye.
Yes.
There's no
lower than low. Yeah,
there's no lower than low. And what I found amazing, and I don't know what I can attribute to this to, other than the laws of dynamics. I don't know, but as soon as I got low, there's nowhere else to go but up. Yes. Right? So it naturally pushes you up again. It's like a ball being thrown against a wall. Yes. It would naturally come back again, right?
It's too shall pass. Everything passes.
Exactly. Yeah. And then so I'd go up again, but then because there's no momentum to kind of lift me, I would force myself down so that I can go back up again. That was a very interesting time of how I would make myself more depressed just so that I could bounce back.
That's actually very, very interesting. And I think what you are saying might make a lot of sense. I've been thinking a lot of those kind of things this week, also talking to a lot of people and analyzing and wanting answers to all these human behavior and suffering, that everybody has in their life. And what you are saying is probably very close to the truth. It's probably, if not spot on, is I do think that is what we do as humans, because we almost know that if you hit that low, it kind of forces you to look for that high, because to stay low that long, it will drive you to suicide, really. Yeah. So it's almost as if we kind of inflict our own suffering in a very weird way, so that we can get to that low, feel the pain, so that we can get up again to almost feel that ecstasy of a little bit of a high again, or a little bit of happiness when it does come. It's weird. I do think that you actually have a point there. Yeah.
I mean, that in itself is a conversation to unpick, especially people who have kind of like self-sabotaging behaviors. I think there is an element of pushing, because instantly that the bottom, your bottom, I think it's what your threshold of pain is. I think that's what it is, and that'll be different for everybody, but you will have a threshold of no more. This is the end, right? That's my threshold
your
of
limit
pain.
kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's like almost a force that will naturally push you up again. But if you don't have enough to kind of, if you're not having something go blowing you up, it'll naturally just slide back down again. And and I see this with friends of mine, in terms of they will spend their whole life cycle going back and forth, because somehow inside they must know that just there's a little bit of high that happens there.
Yes.
So, and because that feels so unreachable, I'm going to
go
for
low
that
to get that high again.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's a shame.
Yeah, but now at least you went up again. So you were low, and you thought, okay, at least, if I go lower, then it's going to be suicide. And then at one point, did you get enough momentum again, obviously, to go higher again and get out of it and realize, okay, well, I have to accept this now. Dream is a bit lost. So now what? Now I have to go beyond another thing here.
So I went to the next thing, and I think that then broke my cycle. I was so, I went for a huge challenge. I was working, 4:00 in the morning till 11:00 at night. I was very distracted.
Sure. And what were you doing for those many hours? What were you actually doing?
I blagged myself a lettings manager role of a failing business, and I was just like, I can sort that out.
You just want to feel like you succeed at something.
Totally. Yes. Off I went, and I was happy again, because I was,
Yes, you have something to do. You have a goal. You have a purpose. Here we go.
Yeah. 100%. Made a conscious decision not to kind of unpick too much of love, because that's a heavy subject. I'd love to kind of unpack that with you. But what was going on in the background was my own kind of struggles with love and finding love. I was dating terrible choices, terrible.
Was that all in search of love?
Yeah. Yeah,
But not
absolutely.
society norm kind of love, but love, the true love, the real love that
Oh,
people talk about.
I'm glad you said that, but it's totally here. I was following society's norm. And for women, there's very much a society norm. And maybe it's for men. I don't know. I'm not a man. But for women, we get taught that we'll meet a Prince Charming, save yourself for Prince Charming. Don't settle for anything less.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how flawed you are, he'll accept, like you said, he'll accept your flaws. He'll be perfect, and he'll be so perfect that he's fine with you not being perfect.
Yes.
Let's not look at me. Let's just look at you and your pretty face. And so you're on that journey, finding connection and
yes.
passion. And,
yes, it's there.
And they're gorgeous, right? And I was failing miserably at trying to, appease that social norm that's laid out for women, right?
Yes.
And I remember the last guy I was dating at this stage, I mean, just like appalling choice. I won't even go into the details, but as bad as you can kind of imagine. I mean, I think I've got 4 convicts in my ex-list list. 4.
It'll come in handy one day, when you need, I don't know, someone to hook you up.
But I was, and I was getting so exhausted because you know what it's like when you invest, yourself into somebody and you get excited about what it can be, and then it all falls apart. You're emotionally drained. And then I just decided one day, maybe it's not for me. Maybe men are not for me. I'm clearly not making great choices here. There's some, I knew, I knew at that stage, there's some wiring inside here that's making the wrong connections. Let me just bypass this circuit and change the scene completely.
Right. So you did the formula again. You accepted the situation. Like, obviously, I suck at this. I'm accepting the fact that I can't do this. Let me change this and see if the experience is different.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember we were in the club one night, and like my first female love was a woman who looked exactly like a guy that I had a total crush on. Right?
Oh, wow.
And, he was just like my type. And here's this woman who literally, my type in a female form, right? So off I go, and I, have that whole struggle of what if I'm gay? And I remember I was driving to Brighton, and I was reminiscing about, the kiss that happened. And I was just like, what if I'm gay? And I was just like, that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yes, society norm. I'm against that anyway. I'm fulfilling my purpose here.
This is it, because all that society norms have taught me so far was that they make you feel shit about yourself.
Yeah.
Right? There's no happiness there. That little secret recipe that somebody came up with that they share under the table, like it's like, the Bruder's born, what's that? That's society in Africa. Yeah, like the Bruder's born. Sharing a little bit. Right, guys, this is the secret for success. You have to go. Share it with all your kids. Make sure they do it, right? That wasn't working out for me. So, so I went on that journey, and that journey took me, introduced me to a woman who was phenomenal. I mean, we're talking top shelf, quality human being.
Princess Charming.
Princess Charming, 100%, right? And we got married, and I was, how could I not be happy? I mean, I was desperately unhappy, but in all of my life,
but within yourself, would you say it was more in yourself? It wasn't, in a relationship or partner.
It wasn't in a relationship. I mean, she was wonderful. She was absolutely wonderful. I couldn't have asked for better, right? So, and then the next kind of pinnacle, beyond the brink. And I suppose that is it. I'd been married to a man, and I'm still the only person that I know that's been married to a man and a woman.
Yes, and, that's why you were interesting to me. That's why you were one of the first people, that I know that I went, what? Will you do an interview with me? Because I don't know many people who have done that. So that's beyond the brink of a normal marriage, and then beyond the
Yeah,
brink of a out of society norm marriage. So it's life lessons right there. Yeah,
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 yeah. So,
yeah.
but that wasn't, once again, it was an easy decision to make. It was, like I said, was the acceptance of, maybe the recipe doesn't work for me.
Mm,
Maybe that's okay. Maybe I make up my own recipe. I
mm,
mean, who else is judging me? And
mm.
besides, we look around us. How can we give any authority to anybody else about how things are meant to go? They're in the
Exactly,
same bloody boat that we're in, right? They
exactly.
haven't got a secret book or anything. Like, they don't need to
Everybody's
doubt with
winging it as they
anything.
go. Hence the show. I'm trying to figure out how people are winging it so that I can see, is there even a bloody recipe? Maybe we're just all winging it anyway.
For me, I would definitely say the recipe would be stay in the life lane.
Yeah, stay
Because
present.
that's
Yeah,
because that's where the magic happens. It's
yes.
so I remember, I can't, it was a little meme or something about somebody who was depressed, but they were in paradise, right?
Mm,
But they couldn't see the beauty around them because they were kind of,
mm.
drawn into
Their
their
story.
own,
Yeah, their
yeah,
stories.
so
Mm,
the magic happens here. I mean, and so
mm.
much magic happens there. People who practice meditation will always, constantly be telling you about that. If you can prolong that period that you're present, and it's very difficult,
Yeah,
and
yes.
if you practice meditation, it's very difficult to stay there. It's
Yeah.
a tough old muscle, right?
Mm,
That you have to, get strong, but intense magic happens there. Yeah, so
mm.
there's a whole unexplored world for
Yes.
us as humans,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So
That
you
is
decided
just
to
beyond
explore
our
that world of same-sex marriage and go, let me write the book on this one.
imagination.
Me give you
It's
the
tough.
vision.
Yeah, but then
I'll
I
go there
think what
first and tell you.
yeah, but once again there was that kind of norm prescription of marriage, kids,
Mm,
right? So
mm.
we were
Even
married.
in same-sex marriage, would you say that is? I mean, I've got a few gay and lesbian friends as well, and it seems like that is still, even in their relationships, it's like that's the next thing. It's like now they look for adoption agencies, or it's like that's the next step. To kind of
This is
solidify
what I
and
said
seal the
to you.
commitment, you have to have a child in a way, isn't it, eh?
That's exactly why I said, even those cultures, different cultures have different norms that
Mm.
it's acceptable in their communities. There's still like a master
Yes.
recipe
So
that
you're not accepted because you're gay or lesbian, but maybe if you have a child, that might add in your favor a little bit. We might then accept you a little bit more
yeah,
because you're doing a little bit of the box, isn't it?
there
And
you
somehow
go.
you get your little, you know.
Maybe. But the thing is, you can't deny the fact that as women, there's a biological instinct and yearning
Yeah.
to, to have
To
offspring. And
procreate. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Some
I
don't
mean,
want at all, but I mean, and that goes the same for gay guys. I've got gay friends that are so broody, they would do anything, to have a child. So, it's definitely a longing, just like any other couple. And I think a lot of people don't see it. They think, oh no, but that's not them. It's like, it's like they almost so uninformed when it comes to those relationships, and they want the same things. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I
And
mean,
some,
judgment is such a dangerous game.
yeah, exactly,
Such a
exactly.
dangerous game.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
never know where it's coming from.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, yeah.
So you would say,
So
so you got married then to your wife, right? And
mhm.
then how long were you married for before you started deciding or thinking, or was that always in the cards? Did you always talk about it and say you would want to one day have a family, or, was it from the beginning kind of?
Yeah, but what happened is Ellen, it was very maternal.
Mm,
Her, it was a huge part of who she was.
mm,
And to fulfill that was to be a mom, right? And I
mm,
think being gay was probably a difficult thing for her because that
mm,
made it harder, and she had, physical kind of challenges around that,
mm,
which made it even harder.
mm,
Um, but it was a very important thing to her, and she made that very clear from the beginning. And I said to her, look, it's not something I'm particularly, goal orientated about. I've kind of avoided it until now. I was only 30 at the time when we got engaged. But for me, I said, if it's important to you, I love you, it's important to me. If you want a kid, then we will have a kid. I'm not particularly fussed about it, but if it's important to you, then we will do this journey. So once we were married, we then started the journey of finding a donor. I'll leave that to you. I would love that.
So I shall announce it, because I'm very proud that they really wanted my husband's sperm, because obviously he creates beautiful kids, as you can see looking at my kids. So nothing to be ashamed of. I'm very proud that you guys wanted to take his, no secret.
So as we went, and unfortunately that didn't work out, and that was probably a big thing for you as well, because edit this out if you want to, but that was hard news for us to go, okay, well, that is not going to happen. And then we got to a point where we're going, okay, well, we were both gonna find one donor. We were a foreign donor, someone we didn't know. Okay. Because at that point, I wanted it to be somebody that I was close to too, that there was a bond that I could then share with the child. That was important, because I thought, I don't want a situation where it's, Ellen and the child, and I'm just kind of like the third wheel. Yes. I wanted there to be a bond, and we'd approach my brother as well. And both those avenues didn't work out. So the next option was, okay, well, let's pick a foreign donor. Let's both get impregnated.
Oh,
we had this little dream.
I don't think I knew about that.
No.
Wow. Yeah, because I didn't think you would do that. Okay. Wow.
Well, I didn't know clearly, did I?
Well, that didn't happen either, obviously.
Yeah. So we were both gonna be impregnated, and I think our plan was to do it at the same time. So we kind of had twins.
That is definitely not social norm, I would say. Like, two partners pregnant at the same time. Who's holding whose hand in labor? Yeah, I can just imagine that.
But how cool, though.
Yeah, very cool.
Nice.
No, it's very cool. No, I would have loved that. I wish bloody Duan could be pregnant with me at the same time. It would have been very cool. I would have felt so bonded with him. He would know what I'm going through.
A nightmare at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was, we would literally go into a festival, Shambhala, this once again a life-changing experience, and we were going to this festival, and we just made that decision. And I said, look, I need some time alone. I want to just sit with this.
It's a big decision,
weekend.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to sit with this for the weekend. And I really sat with it. I mean, if there was ever divine intervention in my life, it was that weekend. And it was within that weekend that I realized I am going down a path that not only is, not for me, but it's not me. It's nothing that I am. I don't know. I just felt, I don't know how to articulate that moment of just realizing, here I'm going down a journey, making big life decisions and creating this world that I want nothing of. There's nothing of me that's part of this world. I was this outsider creating a perfect picture of what happiness is. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. And knowing you, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would think that you would want to be all on board with it. You would want to be excited about it. You would want to say, yes, let's do this. Let's do this fearlessly. Let's just all in, you know what I'm saying? So I think you so desperately wanted to be excited about it. You wanted to, am I right? Is it,
Yeah.
do you think you were kind of in denial in a way, almost convincing yourself that you could get on board with this? This could be exciting. This could be an adventure, just like how you see any challenge, isn't it? Because that's kind of what you
Yeah.
normally do. It's not, you go, this could be exciting. Let's see what this
Yeah.
brings. And isn't it the same kind of idea that you probably applied to this as well, and then realized, but this is a bit maybe different. It's a bit more of a huge investment and a lifelong decision, and I can't take this back. Like if I realize halfway down the line, okay, this didn't work out the way I wanted to, it's difficult in a way to take that back,
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And I think I also led myself down a garden path by getting excited about having a child only because there were people involved that I was really close to. I mean, my brother is my best friend, in the world when it comes to kind of, blood, and outside of that, it's Duan. And those two people I have huge amounts of respect and love for, and I feel very, they hold the closest seats in my heart type thing, right? So going down that road, I realized that weekend was not about me and Ellen building a family. It was me trying to sew pieces together so that I could make this fit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. 100%. So obviously you reached a huge on the brink moment, I would say, then, when you sat with that and you realized, wait, like, what am I doing? Because it's a hard thing to accept, isn't it? I would imagine. And to then probably have a conversation with Ellen, I mean, that had to be challenging, because I know when I had to have the conversation with you guys where I said, you know what, I was all keen, I was all on board, but now, after having our first one, that was where it shook it for me. I was like, oh, wait. Now when you have your own kind of child, you realize it's a different scenario, and I didn't know I was going to feel that way. But that to me was so hard, and to have that discussion with you guys, that I can just imagine from you to now, speak to your partner, Ellen, whose dream this was, and who, I mean, that must have been so challenging, So it's a tough brink, I would say, to go beyond, Tough thing to accept, tough thing to go through,
It was really hard, and to then live with the guilt on my shoulders that I've, taken an opportunity away from her. She'd invested 7 years of her life with me. And then for her to have been led down the garden path, just for somebody to go around and say, oh, by the way, I don't want to be in this relationship. I definitely don't want to have kids. Because that's what it came to, it was also a realization of, I'm not happy in a same. No, it wasn't that I didn't think I was unhappy in a same-sex relationship, right? It was a realization that I didn't even know who I was. I was living a life outside of me. I wasn't integrated in my life. I wasn't embraced in my life. I wasn't the centerpiece of my life. I was constructing, like you would write a book and have it over there and orchestrating it. That's what it was like. I felt like a director of somebody's life. I was sitting over here being safe. I wasn't involved. All the decisions I was making were safe decisions, being in the job that I was a safe decision, because it was and this probably contradicts everything of my nature that I've kind of portrayed, but there was still very much a restricted human being in there that was following social norms on a scale that she couldn't even see, right? She was able to break the small things, but when it came to the big thing of the social, the structure that she was kind of held up by, that she was playing it safe and was sacrificing happiness to just kind of keep the peace. And I just, in that moment, I just went, no, hold fire here. Like, this is not, like, I'm not in the life lane here, right?
You're not
I
present.
stepped out of it.
You're planning future, and you're like, but
I stepped out of life lane. life's lane. And I think when you step, and this is what meditation teaches you as well, it's very hard to get into the lane. It's very hard to stay in the lane. And it's very easy to fall out of the lane, you know, but you have to get yourself back. And for me, I fell off the lane and I was stuck there for 8 years. Right.
And now when you came out with your truth, even though it was so challenging to now tell Ellen the truth and to end the marriage, because, you know, that definitely was challenging. Would you say it was easy again for you after that to kind of get back into the lane, to, I don't know, what was that like? Like, so now, yes, you're on the brink, you jumped off it, you went beyond it. But I would imagine that after, you know, 2 marriages, you know, I'm just thinking of myself, and I know it's like, you know, it's an investment, it's a commitment, and it's to do that again and then go, oh my word, it didn't work out again. Even though you didn't fail, it was a journey, it was an experience, you know, and we shouldn't see it as failure, but we tend to still do that. But isn't it then so challenging to trust again, to trust yourself, to trust your own judgment, to trust someone to fall in love with you, for you to fall in love with them, what's that like that going beyond that? You know, how did you find that formula, or to land up with Pete, who you're now so happy with, and that you eventually found this peace in love and you have this amazing relationship? But it had to be a journey, or you had to probably figure out, like, because I can imagine you doubt yourself probably, or at the beginning you probably thought, you know what, I just suck at this. Maybe let me just give it up. I don't know, you know, what was that for you?
I think acceptance, like you said, that formula, I had to accept I suck at this. I suck. I still suck. I try something different, but I still suck, right? But it's doable. It's possible. Look, those people are doing it. Those people are doing it. And, you know, and maybe my perception of how they're doing it is more rosier than what it actually is, but it's a hell of a lot better than where I'm at, right? So there must be a way. There must be a formula to follow. So I definitely went on a huge journey after that, of firstly finding myself before I could find love.
That's where it starts.
Had to learn 100%. I had to learn to love myself, and I also had to learn who I was. And you'll be witness to this. We went on a holiday together when I was discovering, you know, the hairs on my body. Yes. Remember that?
Oh, I do remember. Please allow me to tell people.
Go on.
We went to Namibia with Yolandé. And we were on the beach, and she was proper like Portuguese. I think Portuguese normally do that. The hair was just, I don't know, waving in our eyes. Turning, and everything was just no bikini wax, nothing. And Juan and I just went, okay, Yolandé's finding herself. And we love you for it. But yes, we do remember that holiday very well. So yes, you let your hair literally loose and growing.
I think where I got to at that stage of let's scrap everything. Let's start with a clean slate, right?
So you literally went to the bottom of society norm and said, none of it. Yeah. Now I will build my own little, you know, script for what works. Yeah.
I think so. And I think because, you know, I wasn't in the bubble of who's looking at me, who likes me, who doesn't like me. I was in this bubble of this is my world, this is my life, and every day I don't figure this out is a trauma. I go to sleep with myself at night. I wake up with myself at night. It's my thoughts that traumatize me, right? So you guys can wait, right? I'll get to you later.
No, we were entertained. It was very entertaining. Your brother and I really enjoyed it. We loved being witness to the process.
I'll tell you the top end of that story. So that was obviously part of my journey of, well, what's this body? You know, what do I actually, why am I constantly pulling off bits of me, you know, changing bits of me, hiding bits of me?
Yes.
I don't even know what they are.
Yeah.
Do you know
what
I mean?
That go along with shame? Hey, Yolandé, don't you think it goes along with a lot of shame? Like from young, we get shamed almost in our own bodies. Don't you think so? But it's so subtly done. It's like girls have to shave because they have long hair, is like gross. And you have to shave under your arms because that's gross. And, you know, you have to hide your boobs because otherwise you like, you know.
Oh, God forbid anybody see your bloody nipple.
Oh, you know. And isn't it? So it shames your body. And eventually that shame clings to you, doesn't it? And it affects everything in your life and mainly your relationships and how you see yourself in it. Yeah.
But it's so subtle. It's so subtle that it doesn't make you feel enough pain on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, enough to change.
For you, enough to change it, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I was blessed with a moment of, you know, because when I came out of that festival, I was literally in Life Lane for 2 weeks solid. I'm not kidding you. I was in Life Lane for 2 weeks solid. I used to have to take time out from people because I freaked them out so much. I was on another level, like another level. I literally survived off the raspberries in my garden and a teaspoon of peanut butter. I had so much energy inside me, right?
Yeah, because you were high on life.
It was, crazy, absolutely crazy. I remember I would turn up at work, right? I would turn up, like, bearing in mind, right, I'm a lettings director at this stage, and I'm you know, I run a team, right, for a high-end respectable firm in a very posh town, right? My face is in the newspaper every week, right? It's a very respectable position. I turn up at work on the Monday, I think, after that, right, in Lice Lane. I turn up with my DMs. I have these high, like, latex type DMs. You've seen them, right?
Oh, yes. That's your trademark. It used to be, at least.
I'm not wearing a bra, right? I look terrible. I don't look professional.
They probably thought you were on a breakdown, like, this lady is not now. She's hit rock bottom. It's like,
there was an intervention.
So you had that very lost moment going beyond the brink, and you almost went beyond the edge of life and humanity as a whole. But then you found yourself, obviously, and this was now, you know, probably it took 2 weeks for the initial finding, it sounds, right?
It took me 2 weeks to come back down to earth. Yeah. It took me 2 weeks to come back.
But now it took a while before you met Pete again, right? So you were first alone for a while, right? And you were like enjoying your own company and trying to figure out who the hell are you actually, right? Yeah.
And that's so, and that was literally going from scratch. Like my attitude was, I'm nothing. Like, there's nothing preconceived about me. Everything that's in the past is not part of me. Almost like I've been reborn as such. And I now need to discover who I am and what do I. And I thought the only way I could do that was to find out what I like. Right.
Yeah. And how did you do that? How did you start that process? Because I think it's always the interesting thing, eh? It's like finding out what you like, and I think most people will say, well, how do you do that? Like, how do you find out what you even like? You know?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I knew I liked.
Did you just explore everything? Did you just kind of explore everything from scratch and figure out what you like and what you don't like? And
this is exactly,
because then you didn't have to please anyone. You didn't have to pretend to like something so that, you know, someone else is pleased. Yeah. And then by the time you could meet Pete, obviously that was the truest, realest you, because by that time you have discovered what you like and what you don't like and who you actually are. So he knew he was actually getting involved with. There weren't going to be many surprises down the line and, you know, hair from the armpits and stuff as you explained.
Well, they're not there anymore. I decided to shave them off. Once you kind of know how much hair grows under your armpits.
You're like, oh, I know now why. There's a reason.
I choose. That was it. I choose to shave.
Yes.
Yeah, rather than being told I have to shave. That was I wanted to make those decisions.
And now with your, because now we were talking the whole time about your going beyond the brink of social norms, right? And I think you've covered that quite well. We've seen that you challenge social norms a bit. But now that you are in a relationship again with Pete, do you feel social norm kind of things creeping in again because you are again in a relationship that feels that you are at peace, that you are embracing it, that you are fully invested in it and can for once, be at peace with a relationship and love? Is there that kind of lurking society norm thing still in the background or not? Would you say that's completely put to sleep for you? Are you kind of like scared that someone would go again, like, okay, when are you getting married? When are you having kids? Like, are you actually buying a house together? Are you know what I'm saying? Those kind of things. Or have you made peace with the fact that this is how I choose to have my relationship and that's it?
I think so. I think very much now it's about what I choose. I mean, when so that whole thing made me quit my job, and I was going to be a bum in Europe. Thank goodness nobody let me do that. But literally, it was just, I was going to climb off a plane and I was just going to walk and just meet whoever I meet. Luckily, I didn't do that. But when it finally came to the point where I stepped away from the business, I went to uni, and that was a real kind of
because that was a big thing, because now what are you studying again?
Well, one of my unfulfilled goals is one of the things, I had one regret in my life, and that was I didn't go to university when I was young. So when I'm going to university,
at the age of
student, I was 38, I think. 39.
See, so I think that already is an inspiration for someone listening today, saying it's never too late. When I'm 38, I can also go study at university, and you are loving it now. It's now your passion.
I'm a, agricultural research student. You can transform your life so quickly.
Yes.
With such great impact if you just kind of embrace it without the fear factor. And don't get me wrong, I mean, going back to uni after 20 years, studying science, the last time I did biology and geography was in Senate 6, and I left it. I didn't carry on with it because I didn't like it, right?
Wow. Sure.
Yeah.
But that is how it actually rounds it off so nicely for me now with your going beyond the brink of society norm, because firstly, did you not only find the love of your life only at a later age? I mean, when did you meet Pete? What age was that?
Yeah, I literally met him the same year I went to university.
Yeah, see?
Yeah,
so you actually found the love of your life, actually, or the partner that you found peace in love and a relationship now at the age of 38. So, I mean, it was a search, and I mean, there were a few nice brinks on the horizon that you had to go beyond.
That was a journey.
Yes, and not only that, at the age of 38 only, you went to varsity and you found the actual purpose and the thing that you're passionate about. So I think that already is such a nice testimony for society norm, over and above even, the marriages, and then trying, same-sex marriage and a normal kind of marriage, and then, trying to go down the avenue of having kids or not having kids, and those typical society norm things. I mean, almost the basic recipe that you normally get is like leave school, go to varsity, find a man. And now to look at it, you did it almost right at the end, after exploring and experiencing life first, and you only found it now. So I think it's a nice inspiration for anyone who watches it now, who is in their life thinking, oh, you know what, I just can't find my passion. I just don't know what I'm actually supposed to do. Nothing I do is actually enjoyable enough for something that I'm so passionate about that I can see myself doing it for the rest of my life. And none of the relationships I have actually seems like it could last forever. And I think looking at you now, they could go, but you know what? Same as how you said they're doing it, so I can, is they would look at your story and say, well, look at Yolanda. I mean, she also did all those journeys and, learned lessons along the way. But in the end, she still found her thing. And she did find her love, Thank you, Yolandé. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. And I wish you all the best. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Brink with Marianne. If you have an inspiring story or you know of someone who has one, please contact me. You can find me on social media such as Facebook or Instagram, or email me directly.